Let's begin from Abuja, where the Senate Committee on Appropriations has announced January 31, 2025 as a target date for the National Assembly to present and potentially pass the 49.7 trillion naira 2025 budget. To meet this deadline, the committee plans to suspend plenary sessions for 2 weeks, starting January 14, 2025, to enable government agencies to defend their budget proposals before lawmakers. Additionally, an open day for budget consideration is scheduled for Thursday, allowing input from various stakeholders and civil society organizations. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Taiwo Olakpade, disclosed this during a meeting with Senate Standing Committee chairpersons. He confirmed that the budget report would be laid before both the Senate and the House of Representatives by January 31, 2025. In May 2024, the federal government, represented by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, filed a lawsuit to challenge the governor's authority to receive and withhold federal allocations meant for local government areas. The suit sought to prevent state governors from unilaterally dissolving democratically elected local government councils and establishing caretaker committees. The Supreme Court on July 11, 2024 gave a landmark judgment affirming the financial autonomy of the 774 local governments in the country and ruled that governors could no longer control funds meant for the councils. The Apex Court also directed the Accountant General of the Federation to pay local government allocations directly to their accounts, as it declared the non-remittance of funds by the 36 states as unconstitutional. The implementation of these budgets was scheduled to commence in all states by November 2024. It is now over 2 months. How well have local government autonomy been implemented? Are there tangible impacts in the welfare of Nigerians at the grassroots? We have our public affairs analyst, Taiwo Olakpade, who joins us live to further talk about this. Thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo Olakpade. Good morning to you. Mr. Taiwo Olakpade, good morning to you, sir.
The name is Taiwo Olakpade. They used to spell my name Olakpade. Please.
Olakpade.
Ola, O-L-A-P-A-D.
All right. That's noted, sir. All right, so let's just delve into the conversation. Now, are there any successes with the implementation of the local government autonomy that you have noticed so far? Okay, I want to believe you can hear me. So I'd just like to find out from you, based on your observations so far, if there have been successes recorded since the implementation of the local government autonomy.
Well, for me, I want to start by saying that it was a good move from the federal government led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that the Minister for Justice and the Attorney General of the Federation, SCN Lateef Fagbemi, approached the Supreme Court, in which we had a very landmark ruling in July, which granted full autonomy to local government administration in the country. We know what has been the development in the past, where we see governors of most of our states, living large on local government funds. And I dare say that I'm not sure if there's any one of these state executives that have not been found wanting in this regard and stand to be corrected. So for the Minister of Justice to have taken that bold step in which the Supreme Court gave that the landmark ruling in favor of local government autonomy was, for me, a right in the step direction. But what next after the Supreme Court ruling? The ruling came in July, and we are now in January 2025. That's about 6-7 months down the line, and we have not seen that coming into effect in full force. And I also recall vividly that the Minister for Justice then said that the ruling will take immediate effect, that the implementation, if you can fact check this, the minister said it then, that the implementation of this Supreme Court ruling will take immediate effect. And you and I know that after the Supreme Court ruling, the next place you can go is to, if you are not satisfied, is to go to, I don't know whether I would like to say, you go to the court of the Almighty, if there is anything like that. So Supreme Court is the apex court in the land, and whatever ruling it has given, whether you like it or not, whether it's in your favor or not, you just have to accept it. But it is sad that 6-7 months down the line, we are yet to see this take a full effect. And I don't want to put the blame on the Minister for Justice, because we know the way politics is being played around in our own environment. And you know that these governors who are also heading the subnationals are also very powerful. You have to tread cautiously with them, because this is a largesse that they've enjoyed over the years. And for somebody to have decided that there must be a change, let's change the narrative, which is to a large extent will be to the benefit of a majority of Nigerians. Of course, we expect to see a stiff opposition to this new change coming from the federal government. However, we also got the report that the local government will start receiving their fund allocation from FAC. That's the Federal Allocation Committee, FAC, from January this year.
Okay.
We had that report. So we're expecting to see that also take effect any moment from now.
So this would actually mean that local government administrations are not really faring, because it seems as though the implementation has not been in full effect. Then why would the state governments want to keep a stranglehold on the finances of these local governments? Is there any tenable excuse for that?
Well, over the years, just like I rightly highlighted earlier, local government seems to be like an appendage of state government. And if you look critically in our constitution, I don't think there is anywhere that is categorically stated that local government is the third tier of government. I stand to be corrected. It's just because of the political convenience that we say government at the federal level, government at the state level, and also government at the local government level. I'm not sure there is anywhere in our constitution that we have it categorically written or stated that local government as the third tier of government. What we have seen over the years is local government also working in tandem with the state government. And you also recall that the current president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when he was the governor of Lagos State between 1999 and 2007, thereabouts, he created what was known then as the LCDAs. We used to have 20 local governments in Lagos State, but in 2003, I remember, he created additional 37 LCDAs. And I remember that some other governors, they followed suit. They took after him and created more local government, because whether we like it or not, allocations are also distributed based on the number of local governments in across the state. You remember the case of Kano and Jigawa, I guess, when Jigawa was pulled out of Kano. At the moment, Kano has the highest number of local government in the country. I think around 44 thereabout. Jigawa that was pulled out of Kano then also has, I think, minimum of about 30 or 30 something local government. So now Lagos, that has the highest population in the country, we still have about 20 local government as we speak.
All right, so now that we are having
about 20 million.
Mr. Olakpade, now that we're having a drag on the finances between the local government and the state government, what do you think the way forward is?
Well, the way forward, number one, we have a landmark judgment from the Supreme Court. And like I said, Supreme Court is a court of finality in the country. It's the apex court in the land. So if a ruling is given, whether in your favor or otherwise, you have no other place to go. You have nowhere to go again than for you to abide, than for you to accept that ruling in good faith. So there is no going back. We have reached a point of no return on this local government autonomy. What I expect now is I want a courageous and a bold step from both the president and also the Minister of Justice in ensuring that our local government receive their monthly allocation directly from FAC, and not a case of the joint allocation, which is known as JAC, which is also, unfortunately, another creation of the Constitution. The Constitution created the JAC, and JAC is still there. So I also wonder why the minister did not even thought it wise to also consider a kind of amendment as regards what JAC also represents. Because when this money comes from the federal government, it goes straight into JAC. Okay. And it's from JAC that the state governor now decide to distribute to local government by their whims and caprices. They don't even give according to what they're supposed to get. And that's the reason why we also find it so difficult sometimes to also hold this local government chairman accountable. Because you and I know that they're also not receiving money that's supposed to get in the first instance from the federal government or the state governors, as the case may be.
All right, so Mr. Olakpade, just to clarify, Section 318 subsection 1 of the Nigerian Constitution actually defines what government in a democratic setting is, which actually, admits that the local government is a third tier of government. There's also a Section 7 of it. But it seems as though the rule of law is not being obeyed in this instance. So when we have a government that is not subject to the rule of law, according to the Supreme Court dictates, then how do we now ensure that the government toes the path of justice in a democratic setting?
Okay, well, I stand to be corrected by the sections of the Constitution that you quoted. I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a journalist like you. So I agree with the section that we have quoted. So on the way out of this, I expect that even we Nigerians must also ensure that we support this move by the federal government. You and I live in local government, and we also live in the state, and by extension in a country called Nigeria. If you have development at every other local government, we have 774 local government across the country. This will also translate into development in states and by extension to our country, Nigeria. It will be difficult for you and I to say, I want to protest to Alausa because I'm not getting potable water, or my drainage are dirty or are blocked. It will also be difficult for you and I to say, want to protest to Abuja to say, we are not getting the dividend of democracy in our council, but we can easily go to our different local government. And that's why they say they are the closest to the people. And that's the reason why local government is encouraged to also perform as expected. But in a way, they are not getting the needed fund from the state or even maybe from the federal allocation. It will be difficult for us to hold them accountable. So I want to see a change in the sense that by the time they start receiving this allocation, and it's to acknowledge as Nigerians, we have the right. It's a right incumbent upon us to challenge them and ask them to give accounts of money they receive as soon as they start receiving this money directly from the Federation account.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Taiwo Olakpade, for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate
Thank you so much for having me.
We move on now. A student at a school located in an Abuja suburb has been killed, while 4 others were wounded during an explosion at the school. A security source said the incident happened around noon on Monday at an Islamia school in the Kuchi BU community of Buhari area council, about 42 kilometers from the Abuja city center. It was also gathered that emergency and security personnel, including the police bomb disposal squad, arrived at the scene of the explosion. The injured victims were taken to a hospital. Details of the explosion remain unclear, and the police are yet to make an official statement. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has disclosed that it dismissed 27 officers in 2023 for various misconducts and fraudulent activities. In a statement issued on Monday, EFCC spokesman Dele Oyewale revealed that the dismissal followed recommendations from the EFCC Staff Disciplinary Committee, which was approved by the Commission's chairman, Taiwo Olakpade. The anti-corruption agency also announced an ongoing investigation into a claim involving $400,000 allegedly linked to a sectional head by an unidentified individual claiming to be an EFCC staff member. Chairman Olakpade reiterated the EFCC's zero-tolerance policy for corruption emphasizing that no officer is above disciplinary action. He assured the public of the Commission's commitment to investigating all allegations involving its staff. The EFCC further cautioned the public against impersonators and blackmailers who exploit the name of the chairman to extort money from high-profile suspects under investigation. We also tell you that the police in Anambra State say they have rescued 3 children allegedly stolen from their parents in Bauchi State and sold in Anambra. Commissioner of Police CP Nage Itam made the revelation at a press briefing with journalists. He noted that 4 suspects, including an illegal foster mother, whom he said confessed the crime, has been arrested. The police are seeking the assistance of the public to identify the rescued children and reunite them with their parents. Itam added that more than 300 suspects involved in various crimes have also been arrested. According to him, arms and ammunition, including 43 unexploded improvised devices, more than 100 brands of arms, and nearly 3,000 ammunition of various types were recovered. Still on security matters, gunmen reportedly led by the notorious bandit leader Danisuhu have allegedly imposed 172.7 million naira levy on 25 villages in southwest Zamfara State. Counterinsurgency expert Zagazola Makama disclosed this on his official X account, that the levies include demands for bags of soybeans and threats of violence against those unable to comply. Fearing reprisals, hundreds of residents have abandoned their homes, farmlands and livelihoods. While security has reportedly improved in Safi town and along the Funtua-Safi axis, rural villages in Safi West remain vulnerable to attacks. Local leaders have appealed to authorities for urgent intervention, calling for the deployment of more security personnel and the establishment of permanent security posts in the area to protect the affected communities. Terrorists linked to the Islamic State West Africa province have killed 6 soldiers in an attack on a military base in northeast Nigeria. Military sources reveal that ISWAP fighters stormed the Sabongeri base in Borno State's Damboa district early on Sunday, arriving in trucks and on motorcycles. The attackers set the base and army vehicles ablaze, forcing troops to retreat. Fighter jets were deployed from Maiduguri, the regional capital located about 100 kilometers away, and struck the militants as they fled. Nigeria's northeast has been a hotspot for insurgency since 2009, with groups like Boko Haram, ISWAP, and armed criminal gangs contributing to widespread violence. The conflict has claimed over 40,000 lives and displaced around 2 million people in the region. The police have paraded about 50 suspected vandals bordering on the theft of manhole covers and other public infrastructure within the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The FCT Commissioner of Police, Olatunji Disu, made this known during the parade of the suspects in Abuja, saying that several manhole covers, vehicles, solar street lights, and rods used in the construction of flyovers were being targeted by the suspects, saying that their actions pose serious risks to public safety.
Our operatives conducted targeted operations leading to arrest of 50 suspects and recovery of 25 manhole covers. They are there for you to see. 3 vehicles have been recovered from these suspects. We have also recovered vandalized solar lights, galvanized rods used in construction of flyovers, and other tools used in vandalizing these government installations, and several other exhibits at various Pantika hotspots like in Kabusa, Gariki, Mabushi, and Wuse. Investigations have revealed that these individuals operate as part of a larger network.
The call for state policing has been described as a vital tool in addressing security and peace-related issues in the society. At a press briefing convened by the Plateau Peace Practitioners Network in collaboration with the Paramalam Peace Foundation, the need for state policing was highlighted to create a more secure environment for citizens. News Central's Chizobanyowe reports.
In Insecurity across many parts of Nigeria, including Plateau State, prompted this briefing. The peace practitioners gathered here are seeking a way forward, brainstorming solutions to the security challenges. While commending the efforts of security agencies in the state, they said the establishment of state policing would provide significant value.
By United Nations Charter, you are expected to have 2% of your police force as compared to your population. We have 0.005%. with just 360 or thereabout police, 360,000 policemen to 200 million people, considering our landmass, and that same police force doing 50% VIP work.
We commend the proactive investment in the use of technology by the governor of Plateau State in stopping those who seek to perpetuate acts of violence before they carry such out. Technology has played a significant role in securing our communities, and the governor takes the full credit for this innovative approach to peace and security.
We also commend the unwavering commitment of security forces such as the GOC, Operation Safe Haven, the Commander Operation Safe Haven, and the Director DSS, the Commissioner of Police Plateau State, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense, that's NCDC, and the Commander Operation Rambo, amongst others. Their collaborative efforts and actions have significantly de-escalated violence and enhanced security across the states. Notably, the arrest of 13 gun runners on Christmas Eve in Mangu underscores their dedication to safeguarding our community.
With the proposals discussed, all state actors are urged to renounce violence in all its forms and to collaborate with security agencies in their fight against criminality, striving for a violence-free society. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Aniuwe.
Away from that, survivors of the devastating tanker inferno in Agbo, Ika local government area of Delta State are grappling with losses. The Delta State government has assured victims and their families of its support. Deputy Governor Monday Onyeme, representing Governor Sheriff Oborewori, disclosed this to journalists after inspecting the site of the disaster in Agbo. News Central's Austin Azu reports.
January 5th, 2025 remains etched in memory as Sober Day in Agbo. A diesel-laden tanker suffered brake failure along the old Lagos-Asaba Road, crashing at a traffic light junction. The resulting explosion claimed at least 4 lives, left others injured, and destroyed several vehicles and buildings. In the aftermath, survivors are recounting their devastating losses and the destruction of their livelihoods. Sympathizers are offering emotional support, while onlookers gather to witness the extent of the tragedy.
Since when Onitsha closed down for the year, the whole money when they say, they secure them. Say based on today, we carry money go bank. Now wait till we are here yesterday, say has won.
We have facilities, machines and facilities worth over 40 million naira. I know there are several other persons, neighbors and their friends here.
Only one fire service vehicle here, and they tried their best. They were running as they finished their what they are using. They go back and so on, and I pitied them. Even the crowd wanted to lynch them, as if they were the cause of the whole thing.
Governor Sheriff Oborewori, represented by Deputy Governor Monday Onyeme and accompanied by senior officials, visited the scene to assess the extent of the damage.
The people that their shops are affected and their buildings are affected, will also profile all of them. And then the government is going to come to their aid.
The Deputy Governor also led a condolence visit to the home of one of the victims. The grieving family received words of comfort and assurance from the government.
We pray for the repose of her soul. we that are alive will do whatever we can to cushion whatever effect.
The husband of one of the victims recounted the harrowing events that led to his wife's death in the Inferno. He expressed gratitude to the state governor for the visit and support.
My wife was in between the tanker and my vehicle, wanting to enter my vehicle when the explosion happened, and the explosion picked her. It was when we were running, we looked back and saw my wife on the ground burning, and there was nothing two of us could do. So after all,
the Commissioner for Environment commented on the extent of damage to the affected buildings. Meanwhile, the Ika South Local Government Chairman outlined plans to ease traffic congestion along the site of the incident.
Thank God, our working governor, compassionate governor, His Excellency Right Honorable Sheriff Arokwedo Oberowori, said he has mandated the Ministry of Works and SEMA to do the needful, and I believe the needful will be done.
The new central crew visited the Agbo Central Hospital, where survivors are receiving treatment. The medical director provided updates on their recovery.
Then currently, they were stable and we didn't see reasons to keep them beyond yesterday. So they've gone home and they are in good condition.
As those affected by the tanker Inferno continue to count their losses, the big question remains, where will they start from? In Agbo for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
We stay in the west of the continent to tell you that security forces were deployed across Conakry, Guinea's capital, on Monday, following the military-led government's ban on a planned opposition protest against the ruling junta. The protest, organized by the opposition coalition Living Forces of Guinea, aimed to pressure the junta, which seized power in a 2021 coup, to transfer authority to a civilian government. Authorities announced the ban late on Sunday, citing a lack of prior notification. On Monday, armed men, some in vehicles linked to security forces, were seen dispersing gatherings and instructing residents to return home. Protests in Guinea are frequently banned by the authorities and often escalate into deadly violence, underscoring the tension between the junta and opposition groups in the West African nation.
Je dirais que c'est une réussite parce qu'ils ont réussi quand même à paralyser la ville. C'est vrai, même si ce n'est pas toute la ville, mais la commune dans laquelle j'évolue, vraiment on n'a pas fait court puisque j'évolue dans le domaine de l'éducation. Donc c'est une réussite. Voilà, on pouvait vraiment faire l'économie de tout ça en se retrouvant autour d'une table, engager un véritable dialogue qui soit sincère, dont les conclusions, n'est-ce pas, seront appliquées à la lettre. C'est ça, parce que déjà on a l'expérience des différents dialogues, ça n'a pas été sincère, et c'est ce qui nous a conduit, n'est-ce pas, au 5 septembre. Voilà, donc nous ne voulons pas que la même chose revienne. Ils sont tous des fils de ce pays, qu'on se retrouve ensemble, discuter les problèmes de la maison, et puis on trouve une solution.
Écoutez, la manifestation est constitutionnelle. Nous ne sommes pas contre la manifestation, mais nous sommes contre la barbarie. Nous sommes contre, c'est-à-dire ceux qui s'attaquent les biens des autres, c'est-à-dire ceux qui vaguent dans leur activité, ceux qui viennent s'opposer à eux. Sinon, la manifestation est constitutionnelle. Nous ne sommes pas contre la manifestation, mais nous sommes contre les personnes mal intentionnées qui viendront barricader les routes.
From Guinea, we now go to Ghana, where the eyes of the world is now on the West African country as dignitaries from around the globe gather at Black Star Square to witness the swearing-in of President-elect John Dramani Mahama. Mahama's National Democratic Congress ousted the ruling New Patriotic Party after 8 years in power. For News Central, international correspondent Afia Hagen has more.
Former President John Mahama, Ghana's main opposition leader, tried twice before to win back the country's top post. Now he has secured the huge comeback needed on his third attempt for the presidency after tapping into the country's economic frustrations to win December's election.
I have the singular honor as the returning officer of the 2024 presidential election to declare His Excellency John Dramani Mahama as the winner of the 2024 presidential election.
His win marks a historic victory, making him the first president in the 3 decades of Ghana's Fourth Republic since the 1992 return to multi-party democracy to reclaim the presidency after being voted out. Mahama of the National Democratic Congress Party beat out Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia, who represented the ruling New Patriotic Party and who conceded defeat.
The people of Ghana have spoken. The people have voted for change at this time, and we respect that decision with all humility.
The economy became a major election issue after Ghana defaulted on its debt and entered into a $3 billion deal with the International Monetary Fund. Mahama, who served as president from 2012 to 2017, promised to reset Ghana, renegotiate parts of the IMF deal, and introduce a 24-hour economy to create jobs, a major concern for younger voters. But Mahama's tenure as president was marred by a severe energy crisis that led to persistent power cuts, known locally as doomsor, which dented his reputation. Corruption allegations also plagued his administration, although no charges were formally filed against him. On corruption, Mahama says he will create a new office tasked with scrutinizing government procurement above a $5 million threshold. Mahama's inauguration takes place on Tuesday. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
Still on election, Mozambique's opposition presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane, who is the leader of the main opposition party, Podemos, or the Optimist Party for the Development of Mozambique, who left the country in late October and has been commanding protests from outside, has asked supporters to greet him when he returns home on Thursday. Mondlane told his supporters via Facebook Live broadcast on Monday. Mozambique has been gripped by violent protests for nearly 2 months since the Electoral Authority declared 47-year-old Daniel Chapo of the ruling Frelimo the winner of the October 9 presidential elections, with defeating Mondlane. Last month, Mondlane said he would install himself as president on January 15, the same day President-elect Daniel Chapo will be inaugurated. To discuss this, we're joined by Director of the Center for Democracy and Human Rights, Adriano Novunga. Thank you so much, Mr. Novunga, for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, given the opposition leader's declaration to return from exile and self-inaugurate, what implications do you see this having on the unity and strategy of the opposition parties in Mozambique?
Well, indeed, the promise to take the oath of office by presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane is still there. He's coming back on Thursday. He informed the public the day before yesterday, and people are in expectation to see what is going to happen. And of course, they are now split within the opposition camp. We see the political party Podemos that was supporting his candidacy moving away from presidential candidate. They will take their seats in parliament, and which seems to be a growing movement towards isolation of presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane. We are yet to see what is going to happen when he arrives on Thursday, whether that will ignite a new momentum on his camp, on his supporters. That is not yet clear. But what I can say at the moment is, regardless of the split that I have mentioned here, it appears that the supporters, they are very much with the presidential candidate Venancio Mondlane rather than with Podemos. But of course, this is a major blow for the opposition, which is split right at the beginning of a new 5-year term, which weakens our democracy, weakens our mechanisms of participation. But we are yet to see what is going to happen in terms of facts.
Well, you talked about a shift and a split, rather, in the opposition's voice. And the protests seem to have also lost momentum in the last few days that we've seen. Will that, in a way, whittle down the influence of the opposition in the coming months?
No doubt that is going to influence negatively the outlook of the opposition and the possibility of having an impact in governance. The split that we see today, it also weakens the momentum that the opposition was having vis-a-vis the capacity to mobilize the people to go to the street as a pressure for the electoral authorities to take a different route, but also a pressure on the government itself to come to a negotiation or dialogue table. We don't see that happening. And it seems that the split in the opposition will further weaken the capacity of the opposition to get something significant out of all this momentum that has been created through the post-election crisis and violence. So we risk losing this crisis to set things right. The split of the opposition, of course, it will impact the likelihood of us as society, as a country, to use this crisis for something good in terms of quality of governance, in terms of quality of democracy, but also in terms of quality of growth and the likelihood of that being shared with the widespread sectors of society.
So if there's no possibility of a dialogue and the opposition leader goes ahead to eventually self-inaugurate, would you be expecting probably some of the African countries to intervene as middlemen in this matter if there can't be some sort of a consensus within the parties in the country?
Well, we have talked about the regional involvement since the beginning. You will recall. And we hear that SADC is coming, that there was a dedicated meeting of the SADC on Mozambique, but it is a very low profile. It is really small compared to the magnitude of the problem. We don't see a region that is highly mobilized to discuss and to help Mozambique find a solution. We are still in the same mood of our regional bloc here, SADC, to say Mozambique is a sovereign state, despite the fact that the crisis is affecting massively the region, is affecting South Africa, is affecting Malawi, affecting Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Zambia, including Namibia in terms of trade, in terms of movement of people and goods. But look at the issue of human rights. Look at the issue of the people that are being murdered. When you have a region where one of the member states that calls itself a democracy, but human rights are being grossly violated, people are being killed without accountability, that should have encouraged regional blocs to intervene at the early stage. But we haven't seen that. And it seems that, unfortunately, our region and the regional institutions are not up for the job.
Finally, before I let you go, if Mondan returns to the country, is there a possibility that he could be arrested because he's being perceived as the enemy of the state?
Well, we don't know the capacity in which he's returning. He left. He was not an exiled. That was a self-imposed exile, considering the fact that his life was in danger. But he has conducted a number of activities from outside, and some of those activities led the government to initiate some criminal proceedings. So it is not yet clear what is going to happen. A few weeks ago, the chief of the Supreme Court came to say Mondlane is a free man, he is a free candidate, he will not be arrested on arrival. So there is expectation that he will be let free. He's a political candidate. I think he enjoys some immunities for being a presidential candidate. And as a democracy, candidates are to be allowed to freely circulate so that they can do politics, of course, obeying the rules of that particular country and society. But post-election protests, even in the form of violent protests, we have seen across the globe.
All right, Adriano Nuvunga, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.
Let's talk humanitarian crisis now. The United Nations says over 30 million people in Sudan, more than half of them children, are in urgent need of humanitarian assistance following 20 months of devastating war. Sudan has been ravaged by a brutal conflict between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces since April 2023, leaving tens of thousands dead and pushing the nation to the brink of famine. The war has displaced more than 8 million people internally, creating the world's largest internal displacement crisis. In response, the UN has launched $4.2 billion in an appeal to target 20.9 million people from the 30.4 million affected by what it described as an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. The UN continues to call for global support to address the escalating humanitarian disaster. In sports, former Super Eagles and Enyimba player Brownie Deye has confirmed is solely focused on Enyimba and will not be accepting an invitation to the 2024 Chan tournament. Speaking on New Central Sports flagship program, Game On, Ideye emphasized his commitment to his club and his career. The striker, who recently returned to Enyimba after his European playing days, scored in the team's 4-1 Confederation Cup victory over Mozambique's Black Bulls, helping secure their hopes of advancing to the next level. Ideye's goal continues a strong contribution to the club, reinforcing its focus on Enyimba's success as they aim for further progress in continental competition. Let's also tell you that Super Eagles striker Taiwo Olakpade scored his first goal of the season at Nottingham Forest as they triumphed 3-0 over Wolves in Molyneux on Monday. Forest took control early with Gibbs White scoring in the 7th minute and Chris Wood doubling the lead before half-time. The 27-year-old striker coming off the bench in the 88th minute sealed the victory with a stoppage time goal from a Morgan Gibbs White assist. Awoni's goal capped off a solid performance for Forest, which also featured Olaino. This win marked Forest's 6th consecutive Premier League victory, lifting them to joint second place with Arsenal on 40 points, just 6 behind leaders Liverpool. Next, Forest faces Luton Town in the FA Cup before a crucial Premier League match against Liverpool. In a thrilling Italian Super Cup final, AC Milan staged a remarkable comeback to defeat City rivals Inter as AC Milan clinched the Italian Super Cup with a thrilling 3-2 comeback victory over Inter Milan at Al Awwal Park in Riyadh on Monday, thanks to Tammy Abraham's decisive goal in the 3rd minute of added time. Inter Milan took an early lead through Lautaro Martinez's strike and a stunning goal from Mehdi Taremi. Milan responded in the second half with Theo Hernandez's free kick and Christian Pulisic's equalizer. Pulisic also set up Abraham for the winner in the dying moments, securing Milan's 8th Super Cup title, leveling with Inter. The win highlighted Milan's resurgence under coach Consensao following the dismissal of former manager Paulo Fonseca as they look to reclaim dominance in Italian football. And that's all at this hour, but before we go, we'll look at the top stories again. National Assembly targets January 31 to pass 49.7 trillion naira 2025 budget into law. Bandits impose 172.7 million naira levy on Zamfara villages as residents flee. United Nations says over 30 million in Sudan in need of aid. Or you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Omabanjo.